live.
Perfect. Hey. So welcome everyone to Live at Epiphan, except we're not at Epiphan, are we, Dan?
No, we're live near Epiphan.
Near Epiphan? Yeah. Dan and I are coming to you live from a park. How far away from the office? 20 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 10 kilometers, not far.
Yeah, but far enough that we can't use any of the office resources. No internet, no power. We are 100% mobile. And we wanted to do this as an experiment because I get the question, our customer success team gets the question quite often of, can you take a Nano mobile? Can you go on the road and run a mobile live stream using Nano? Because Nano's so small, it's so lightweight, but so powerful. Can you do it? So we have always said, well, in theory, sure.
Yeah.
We decided to put that theory to the test, do our own experiment, do our own test with our own gear, and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I guess if you're watching this right now, something must be working because here we are. And I think part of the goal of what we wanted to accomplish today was to try to keep the setup as nimble as possible. We really wanted to embrace the spirit of keeping the footprint small, keeping the kit small. And I think we fit everything for this mobile setup into a single backpack.
Yeah,
it
basically.
was, and yeah, it was very light. We don't need much.
No. I mean, we did take a car to get here, but that didn't have to.
Yeah,
we could have done this very easily in a number of ways. It was a small enough kit that, let's say you were flying somewhere or taking a train somewhere, it could be your carry-on. Easy,
yeah,
no problem. So that's kind of an important thing too, usually. So we'll give you a guided walkthrough of the setup, and of course, if you have any questions, throw them into chat.
Yeah, we're watching
chat.
Watching
we did bring
chat.
our laptops so that we can watch chat and respond to those things. But we'll give you a little tour and a little bit of an overview. And we debated on a few different things, and maybe we'll explain why we made some of the choices we did. One thing we can never control, of course, is the sun. So we have no artificial lighting. This is 100% natural lighting, which has its own challenges. We also wanted to have a lovely backdrop, but of course, getting good exposure in this type of scenario without
Yeah, we got moving clouds and stuff, so the exposures. But I mean, we probably should have brought maybe a fold-up reflector just to get some more light on our faces here. But
that would have worked better if we had another crew member, and we don't. It's just Dan and I.
Yeah, and we've got the M200 as our camera, which the auto exposure and autofocus on it is pretty good.
Extremely good.
Yeah, so not too worried about the camera's ability to kind of roll with whatever scenario we throw at it.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do, for those of you looking at our main camera, I have my phone here as a behind the scenes camera, and I'm going to use that to give a little bit of a tour here. So from my perspective, you can see a few different things here. You can see my YouTube chat on my laptop, things like that. You can see that Dan's got some earbuds and stuff like that. We have a field monitor that's we're looking at.
Yeah, I can turn that around.
This is optional, right? We don't have to have a field monitor. We wanted one to be able to do some of our own signal verification here without having to be streaming yet. Obviously, Nano has a screen built in. We could have done it on that as well, but with its orientation, field monitor might be nice. So we brought a field monitor. The other thing we have, which was an interesting choice for audio, is we brought a Blue Yeti. Now, there's a few reasons we chose this. One is that being a USB microphone meant that we can plug it directly into the back of Nano, no problem, but it has independent gain control on the mic, so we can make adjustments very fast. It also has multiple pickup patterns, which means that we can set it to a pickup pattern so that Dan and I can sit across from each other and use one microphone. We thought about using lavs, and that was just going to be too complicated. More batteries,
more points of failure, really. And we wanted this to be simple to set up, the fewest number of wires, the fewest pieces possible.
Right.
And I think the Yeti works out well for that. I like this microphone. I think it sounds good, and I mean, we're kind of lucky there's no wind today. I don't know how well it would handle a very windy day, but
luckily there's basically, even though we're sitting by a very wide open body of water, there's no wind.
Yeah.
Which is just luck. You can see the back of the Nano here if I still have that camera up. On top is our cellular modem. Now this is a larger ZTE unit. It has its own battery. So, you know, we don't really have to worry too much about it. It connects over LTE. And there are smaller ones. We've used smaller Netgear ones in the past, I suppose. And I would have preferred to use that Netgear MR1100 again, but it was out on a different project. So we had to use the backup, which was this ZTE modem. But it's fine. The biggest important part here is that it has Ethernet, which means we can run Ethernet directly into the back of Nano. So on the back there we have HDMI from our Canon M200 camera. We have Ethernet going into our cell modem. We have HDMI going to our field monitor for confidence monitoring. And we have the USB from the Blue Yeti microphone. And then we have power. So that's the biggest question about how do you do Nano mobile, is power. So for that, I'm going to swing my camera around here. We are using this Go Labs battery pack. Now, Go Labs is a cheaper brand that is essentially, I would say, I guess a Jackery knockoff, if you will. You've probably seen Jackery advertised in a lot of places, especially on YouTube videos. They sponsor a lot of content. Go Labs is literally, they even use the same color scheme. They're pretty much just a knockoff that are cheaper. This is the smallest battery pack they make, and I'm powering Nano off of the AC port on it, but if I had the right cable, I could actually do it native 12 volt off of this, which would be better.
Wow, okay.
The other thing we're doing is we're powering the camera off of this. So we're running USB power off of this battery as well over to our M200 sitting over there on the tripod. So we just have a dummy battery that's USB into the M200 so that we're not worrying about its battery running out while we're shooting live, because we have this big battery, which last time I checked about 20 minutes ago said we still had 9 hours of battery life left.
So we can stream, and this battery will last all day if we need it to.
Exactly.
Powering a Nano, a camera, and I guess we could probably even put another USB item on there if we really needed to, right?
We do, yeah. We have other ports. There's 12 volt ports, there's more USB ports, and of course the bigger batteries have more ports as well. You can get batteries that are twice the capacity and have 2 AC ports, right? So you could add maybe powering the modem as well, that sort of thing. The other thing you could do, although we're not plugging it in right now, is that you can get these solar panels. This is a 60-watt solar panel that can recharge this battery in the field. So we didn't plug that in today, but I could have. And that would have given us, you know, some top up, some extra power.
Yeah.
And this would also provide USB power straight from the sun without a battery. So we could have probably powered something, or maybe I needed to top up my phone or something like that. We have the equipment, we could have done all of those things pretty easily. So that's kind of the high level overview. What are some of the things we learned trying to figure this out?
I think one of the things we learned is just that being able to fit everything into a single case is nice, right? Like, we are kind of out here. We didn't park super close. It was like, you know, a single backpack strap kind of thing to get all of this equipment out here. So I would say, yeah, and limiting your points of failure as well, and test. I mean, that's the same thing we always preach, is test your setup. So yesterday we did a little run through. We pre-configured the Nano.
Yeah.
Right?
That helped.
And it also helps to have someone
producing,
right? So today we have Adam Palmer back at the office, and he's actually running this show through our Unify cloud platform. So we're streaming to Unify, which means we can aggregate all of our camera sources.
My cell phone feed, the Nano feed, and he's doing the live switching in the cloud.
Yep. And we're also sending our feeds to Unify using HEVC. So H.265 encoding means that we're able to compress this fairly high quality camera into a very manageable bandwidth
Yeah.
So that even though we're on mobile, I don't think we've had any hiccups, at least since we've been
we've been
streaming. So
we've actually been streaming to Unify at the back end for about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's been solid.
Yeah.
Our bandwidth tests, which we can do straight on Nano, we ran bandwidth tests from Nano, indicated we were getting about 14 meg up.
Okay.
So we decided on a 5 meg H.265 stream, which means we can easily send a high quality full HD 1080. So
Confident.
really, in H.264 terms, that's equivalent of sending about 10 meg. So in quality level, which is honestly for 1080 30, 10 meg is
it's brilliant. Yeah, it's very, very nice. Very.
So that's great. I'm trying to think of what else. What did we stumble? There was a couple things we stumbled across yesterday. The audio was the toughest one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we started out, we wanted to try going labs. Now, we did try plugging our Sennheiser receiver dongle directly into the XLR port on Nano. And I would say it is possible, but your audio levels are a little low. You really should have a mixer before going into Nano, unless you have like a boosted.
Yeah, you want a stronger preamp.
Yeah,
mixer,
you need a bit more preamp.
We experimented with running a Focusrite Scarlett in front of Nano over USB.
Now that could have worked, and we could have powered it right off the Nano as well.
Yeah, the downside is we only had a solo available, which only would have given us one mic. So we decided that for simplicity's sake, we would just use the Blue Yeti anyways, because at the end of the day, it's the same.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to use a totally different microphone, like let's say you're an SM7B fan, right? Then the Scarlett would be. It would
be a really good choice. Yeah, the Scarlett doesn't draw a lot of power. It's entirely USB powered, and yeah, you would just plug it into the Nano, and boom, you've got XLR with phantom power preamp to your Nano. So
at the same.
Okay, he says we're up, so I think we are
back.
Live.
Maybe.
Do we have audio, Adam?
I have no monitoring, so.
Okay.
I'm pulling out the selfie cam here.
Okay, wait, are we on this layout, Adam? We're good?
Okay. All right. Maybe.
I think we're back.
Okay. So, that went horribly wrong. We were about to talk things that we learned. Well, what we just learned is that sometimes your cell modem, your ISP might shut it down for some reason.
I don't know. Maybe it's because we haven't used this account much, and then all of a sudden we hit it with a bunch of data.
Maybe there's a cap.
But I mean, we couldn't have used. How much did we use? Like a couple hundred megs, probably.
Yeah. I don't know.
And gig, maybe?
Gig, maybe. Yeah. 2 gigs, maybe. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But there's an interesting thing to check there. Is do you have an unlimited plan? Do you know if there's any caps? Do you know what that might happen? And to be honest, Dan and I don't administer this cell account.
No, we just grabbed this out of a drawer.
So I have no idea. And I think that, again, the other modems we've used in the past at trade shows, we've made sure to configure very specifically to make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen. But I don't have administrator access to this one, so I have no way of changing it.
The modem just started flashing. It's still flashing. We tried rebooting it.
It lost cell bars.
It just does not want to connect anymore. So, I think this is a gap in our where we need to probably. And I know we've been talking about having some guests on this show in the near future to talk about cellular bonding, because there's some new options out there now.
Yeah.
So maybe we should be looking into how to, what new options are available in terms of having multiple networks to rely on.
Yeah, ultimately cellular bonding is the way to go if, to minimize some risk. I mean, it has a cost, right? When you go that route, there's going to be additional cost to do bonding. But, it does help minimize some of the risk. Even if it's not aggregating them, even if it's just failover, right? Like let's say we had a router that had 2 SIM cards in it, one for one ISP and another for another, right? We would just fail over, ideally. And that, probably would only be a tiny hiccup. You guys might have seen some YouTube buffering, and then we would have been back up.
Yeah.
That would have been ideal. But we don't have that. So, yeah, we have to look at that. I think, overall, this was a successful test. Overall.
Yeah, I think so. I think our gap is not in
Power.
the equipment and the power, which is what we were really testing, but where our gap is in our internet provider
Yeah.
and maybe our modem. Now, this modem did feel pretty warm,
Yeah.
so I don't know if we just pushed it too hard, but I mean, it says it has 4 bars of signal right now.
But we did lose them completely.
But it just, even though we're connected to it, it says there's no internet service available. So.
Yeah, and I can't connect to it over Wi-Fi from my laptop. So something went wrong there.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we improve on, what would you do to George to improve I almost call this like the mobile podcaster setup. So how would we take this to the next level? What would we do differently?
A better cellular modem.
Yeah.
I would maybe even look at one that has better external antennas just to make sure that
This only has one antenna.
yeah, maybe it has just a stronger signal. Because again, we're sitting in an area with LTE, borderline 5G, and we were only getting like 15 up. We should have been getting 50, 60, something like that up, right? And we weren't. So that could be a signal weakness. So that something with a stronger antenna probably would be good. What else?
I would say I'd get a sunshade for the
Sunshade for your monitor.
for the field monitor.
Yeah. Other than that, I think
I wouldn't change much, honestly.
no. Power-wise, even this tiny battery, which this is only 200 watts peak, is more than enough.
Yeah.
We never finished answering.
Yeah, we were
Snoga's
trying
question.
to answer Sonoga's question about
Pearl 2.
Could you
And
do this with a Pearl 2?
You probably could, but you would need a much bigger battery. You would need something that would be able to provide nice, stable, 120 something watts output over AC.
This says it has 160 watt, 200 watt peak.
But
so
I wouldn't
maybe
trust it
this
for.
battery
But I
could.
wouldn't trust it for very long.
Right.
Because
You're pushing it pretty hard at that point.
you're also talking to something that's only 200 watt hours in capacity.
Right.
So you're gonna
get an hour.
Even if it runs a Pearl 2, it's gonna drain it like that, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be gone. Nano is a native 12 volt system. So running it off of a 12 volt battery, if you could go 12 volt to 12 volt, would be more efficient. You could never do that with Pearl 2 since it's an AC based system. So it needs 110 or 220 AC, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you would need a beefier battery, and you could theoretically do it. How big? I don't know. That's a good question. I think Nano's size makes it a little more portable in general. A long time ago, we tried to do a Pearl 2 in the back of a car using a power inverter off of a car's power.
Yeah, but it's hard to get a cell phone. It's hard to get a modem inside a car.
Yeah.
The car kind of blocks your
Yeah,
signal.
they kind of act like a
It
Faraday
actually works
cage.
better on the motorcycle.
Yeah. Yeah, and it definitely works better in a
Which,
park.
mind you, we've never actually followed up on this show on the results of our motorcycle stream, but
That's true.
very similar test to what we were doing today, actually.
Yeah.
With the difference being that we did pull out a Nano this case, but
Right.
we do still have the Lyrics app backing us up,
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
some redundancy there at least.
Yeah.
But I think the cool thing here is, like, even though our stream went down, Unify never went down. So
Right.
we never broke the link between the content, even though we had no content. But we never broke the stream. Like, the
Right.
stream remained between Unify and YouTube. So if we had some cut to commercial break or something that we could have switched to,
Right.
we could have covered up, the momentary failure of our modem, right? So
Yeah.
I guess that's one nice benefit of the cloud production is, you're maintaining that bond between your
Even if your
CDN.
contributor goes down,
Yeah.
if they can find a second contribution source, they
Well,
can
yeah,
get
we
it
should have
back
just had we should do that. We should have a couple sort of commercial break
Yeah,
type
yeah.
spots we could run, so that you have something to cut away to in the case that, your local or on-site.
And I think we'll be
Contribution.
producing more content in coming shows about the capabilities of Unify. We've talked about it a lot. We've alluded to it a lot, but we haven't really taken you guys on a deep dive about what Unify can do. And I think we will be soon, because it is the arguably the only tool being used to produce this show right now in terms of the production value, the switching, the titling, the pre-roll, all of that is being done in Unify. So how we do that, I think we'll talk about soon.
Well, it gives you the opportunity to bring in some more interesting tools as
Yeah.
well. So we've been experimenting with some different graphics overlay tools, really making things a lot easier than how they've been done before, and web sources and all kinds of cool things with Stream Decks. So I think, Unify is exciting because it allows us to bring in and sort of customize our workflow with redundancy, with remote operation. So looking forward to showing some more Unify and doing some more Unify tests
But I
in
think
the near future.
I think that'll do it for our park visit today. We're getting some gray clouds rolling in. I won't call this a failure. I will call it a temporary hiccup of garbage internet provider.
Hey, it's not a good Epiphan test if we don't learn something from it.
The important thing is none of the Epiphan gear went down.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the important
exactly.
thing. Epiphan gear,
It was
still
rock
strong,
solid. Yeah.
still running. Internet provider,
Not so much. Yeah, we'll have to find a solution. I've got some ideas of who we can reach out to, and I think there's some other people at the office who've been looking into some bonded networking options for us. So.
the internet is always the weakest link in the chain, honestly. So I think that's where we're going to cut it. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for enjoying this fun little adventure with us into the park. There's the river. There's a boat. So from Dan and from me, we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
All right.